Well, I was at the border shortly before lunchtime, just after Mr Cameron said he had had these discussions, and I have to say on the Gibraltar side there didn't appear to be any wait. On the Spanish side, however, we were getting reports of delays of 2.5 hours, of tempers fraying. Nonetheless, there is a pledge from the Spanish Prime Minister apparently to try and ease these border controls, and Mr Cameron says he's at least in part satisfied they've made progress.
I think it's important that we recognise that it's not acceptable what's been happening to the people of Gibraltar in terms of the delays and other things that they've faced, and I made that point clear. Of course, there is a fishing dispute between Gibraltar and Spain, and that needs to be settled, and we agreed that should be settled, but it's not right to escalate this in the way that has been done, and I made that very clear to the Spanish Prime Minister. We agreed that our foreign ministers would speak and would try to resolve these issues, but I'm very clear that Britain will always stand up for the people of Gibraltar.
So David, Cameron's satisfied there is at least some progress, but what does Gibraltar's own government think?
Well, we need to see how quickly that takes to percolate down from Madrid to the border. We had delays of 4 hours to come into Gibraltar this afternoon at lunchtime after the conversation had taken place, so we need to see how long it's going to take. As you know, we've had extraordinarily long delays to get into Gibraltar and long delays to get out. We've had 7-hour queues to leave Gibraltar. The government has had to distribute 11,000 bottles of water to people waiting in border queues, and it's totally unacceptable in this day and age.
Mr Cameron was clear sovereignty is not up for discussion. He did, however, say there is a fishing dispute that needs to be solved. That to some will read that he does think maybe you should give some ground.
No, really the root cause of all this is not fishing. The root cause is sovereignty. Fishing is a cover for Spanish actions. We've already said, the government has already said, that we're quite willing to entertain fishing in a sustainable environmental way. But what we are not willing to do is to allow the free-for-all the Spanish fishermen have carried out in other parts of Europe, where they've actually plundered fishing stocks and destroyed the environment. We want fishing in a sustainable way. But like I said, fishing is a cover for sovereignty.
What do you want now from the UK government? In interviews, the First Minister has talked about perhaps wanting more Royal Navy presence. Is that something that's been formally requested? Well,
the problem is that we have constant incursions by the Spanish Navy, by Spanish paramilitary forces into British Gibraltar territorial waters. The Royal Navy goes out and challenges those incursions, and we are very happy with the job that sailors are doing here on the ground. The Royal Gibraltar Police also goes out to meet them, and the Gibraltar Defence Police does it as well. But we do need, we feel, larger naval assets to send a message to Spain that Gibraltar is British, that the waters are British, and there will be for as long as the people want it.
It has to be said, these kind of disputes between Spain and Gibraltar are not entirely uncommon. It is perhaps less usual for both the Spanish and British Prime Ministers to get involved and have a specific phone conversation about it. The real test, of course, of whether they made any progress will come at the border over the coming days, and whether or not we see queues or whether they dwindle. Perhaps the biggest test will come at the weekend when border traffic is heaviest.